I'm here with Kevin Fisher from the Art Discovery International, and we're here to discuss Mount Sinai. Now, where is the traditional location located?
It's in the southern end of the Sinai Peninsula. Now, this site is a traditional site. Of course, traditions sometimes can be wrong. In the 4th century, the Roman Emperor Constantine, his self-proclaimed psychic mother, she went down to the southern end of the Sinai, and she picked a mountain that she liked. And she said, this is Mount Sinai. And in the 6th century, the Emperor Justinian, he built St. Catherine's Monastery there at the base of the mountain. And so more credibility, you know, there's a big monastery there. Of course, today there's a lot of tour groups that go there. But the problem with that site is there's no real evidence there.
It's amazing that one person has so much power to determine what is truth and what's not.
Tradition gets started, that's right. So if you look at the real site that the late Ron Wyatt found over in Saudi Arabia, now we're told in Galatians 4 that Mount Sinai in Arabia, Mount Sinai in Arabia, that's new, you know what? And also that Moses went to Midian when he escaped after he killed the Egyptian. And and he had the incident with the burning bush in Midian. And God said, bring my people back to this mountain. So Midian is the location for the real Mount Sinai. And Midian, in all ancient maps, is over in Saudi Arabia. Now, Herschel Shanks, editor of the Biblical Archaeology Review, he stated in Newsweek magazine that Jebel el-Lawz in Saudi Arabia is the most likely site for Mount Sinai. The problem is the country is closed off. You cannot get a tourist visa and go over there and take a look. So the area has been basically off limits. There's fences around the mountain, and there's signs put up there saying this is an archaeological area, stay out. But the evidence there is really incredible at the mountain.
Well, you clearly just said that there's signs all around that area that say that it's an archaeological site. So obviously, they know that something's there.
Yes.
Now, do the Muslims in that region, the Arabs, do they believe it's Mount Sinai?
They do. The locals there, they do point to this mountain as the real Mount Sinai. So when Ron Wyatt first went out there in 1984, he actually walked across the border from Jordan. They walked through the desert. And anyway, they made it to this mountain that he suspected was the real place. And the local Bedouins there said, Jebel Musa Henna, or the Mountain of Moses, is here. And so you've got a local tradition. The top of the mountain is burned black from God's presence. It was a fire and a smoke, we were told. And of course, God spoke the 10 Commandments from atop that mountain and wrote them also. So it's a really incredible place. Out in the encampment area are these large boulders stacked up where the golden calf was placed on top of them. And there's a fence around that also, keeping people out, and a sign saying this is an archaeological area. But on the side of these large stones are these Apis bulls and calves on the side of these rocks, because this is where the golden calf was placed on top of them. So really fascinating. At the base of the mountain are the remains of columns. We're told that there were 12 columns at Mount Sinai, and you can see these round columns of a whiter material there at the base of the mountain. And you can also see remains of a large L-shaped altar at the base of the mountain. So this would have been relatively near the sanctuary. Of course, the sanctuary was off limits from the camp. And also on the mountain, further up, is a cave of Elijah, where he came down there, it was a 40 days walk, I believe it was, and lodged there in this cave high up on the mountain there. So, and then on the backside, to the west of this mountain, on the other side of the mountain, is this large 50-foot tall boulder on top of a 300-foot tall hill with a split right down the middle. And it's got tons of water erosion around the rock itself and on the base of the rocks around it there, the hill. just a large amount of water erosion out here in the desert, this huge amount of water erosion.
Now, I've seen that there's even images along some of those walls and caves, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, there are images on the rocks there at Mount Sinai of, again, the bulls and calves and so forth, camels, people, also images of sandals there in the area. But very interesting. And there at the Split Rock, they've also found a altar which was built by Moses, and Jehovah Nissi, I believe was the name of it. And so also remains of dwellings there, circular rocks, perhaps they were put around the base of the tents, you know, these rocks. So pretty interesting site, but it's also an off-limit site. It's part of a military area, and people that have gone out there, they've been threatened with weapons and so forth. So again, it's hard to get out there. You can't get a tourist visa, and a few people have made it, and it's very interesting.
Well, hopefully you have the opportunity to go soon. I know that you have a few trips planned, but it's amazing. I saw an image that you brought with you that connected the dots from the Red Sea crossing to Mount Sinai, and where the supposed sites were. And the distance in itself, it just proves that it's true, that it's real, that, you know, this is where the distance that the Israelites had to travel.
Yes. Right. They did have to travel a long ways to get to the spot. They were traveling as fast as they could, you know, approximately 16 hours a day, and that led them to the Red Sea crossing in the Gulf of Aqaba. And across the water from that is the real Mount Sinai in Midian. So it had to be a distant location. It wasn't just across the Gulf of Suez, right there in the Sinai Peninsula. This was a distant location, and it was a foreign land for Moses when he fled there from Egypt. So it wasn't right next door there in the Sinai Peninsula. It was over in Saudi Arabia, just as the Bible says.
Now, do you believe that Saudi Arabia will give us the opportunity to research this location anytime in the future?
They have been trying to keep it quiet. Some groups have made it out there, and they've confiscated their photos. I believe they're afraid somewhat of Israel trying to take that land, because it would be so important to Israel.
Yeah.
And so that's one of the reasons why they've tried to keep it so quiet up to this point.
Well, thank you so much for sharing that information with us. We love learning. We love the opportunity that we have to sit with you and actually learn more about these locations. It's just beautiful when our faith comes together and when we see evidence of the Bible truly happening before us. So, thank you, and hopefully we have you again for another Q&A segment.
Thank you.
For more than 20 years, Ron Wyatt spent his life and his life savings on researching and finding the real Mount Sinai, Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah's Ark, and the Ark of the Covenant. Discover the amazing truth of Ron Wyatt's discoveries in a special series on Shabbat Night Live, AD, Archaeology Discovered. Special guest Kevin Fisher walks you through every discovery in detail, including his personal verification that the sites Ron Wyatt found are real.
You can see the four major discoveries: the Noah's Ark, Red Sea crossing, Mount Sinai, Sodom and Gomorrah. Those are visible things.
And welcome back to Shabbat Night Live. We are continuing with our guests. We have a ton of great things to talk about with Kevin Fisher. Kevin, you are the president of Ark Discovery International. Your website is arkdiscovery.com. Obviously, we're going to talk about Ark things coming up,
Yes.
Ark of the Covenant, Noah's Ark, and we've talked about Sodom and Gomorrah in our last episode. Today, we're going to be talking mainly about, in this section, the Red Sea crossing. Something that's close to Michael's heart. We've got a photo of it behind us, and you have a video you'd like to share with us. And you're going to tell us what's going on there.
Yes. Before we start the video, we have a map here of the Sinai Peninsula.
Okay.
Where the children of Israel, they left Egypt proper, which will be over in the Cairo area, for instance, and they traveled east across the Sinai, and then they were told to turn south, which that brought them down through the Wadi Watur, through the mountains, and then the Wadi Watur emptied out onto this large beach that we see on the east side of the Sinai Peninsula, on the western edge of the Gulf of Aqaba.
And that is Nueva.
That's Nueva, and that's where we're headed to. That's the Red Sea crossing site. So in our video here, we're going to go down to Nuweiba from 2 different directions. We'll first start out here in Cairo, and then from there, we'll head over to Nuweiba, and then in the second part of the video, we'll be heading down from Eilat, Israel, down to Nuweiba. So here, we're starting out in Cairo, and we're driving through the city here. You can see it's quite large. You see the minarets and so forth in the background.
So you're literally going to take us to Sinai in your car?
Yes.
All right, this is great.
This is the route. We're going to actually travel almost the route that the children of Israel took, crossing the Sinai and going over to the Red Sea crossing. Here in the background, you can see a large ancient castle there in Cairo. Of course, they have a lot of history compared to the United States.
Yes, hundreds and hundreds of, if not thousands, obviously thousands of years there.
And so there's a mosque that we're driving by. Our taxi's taking us to our hotel at this point. But again, more of this large ancient castle there. And so the next morning from atop our hotel, we're looking down on the streets there in Cairo, and you can see the old world and the new world together. We see this donkey cart next to the traffic zooming by. And
much like what you see in Jerusalem with the old and new city.
Yes, right. So the poor and then the rich, you know, also. So from here, we're going to be taking a look across the city. From this vantage point, you can look across the city here, and atop these type of condos they have there, apartments, a lot of the locals would bring animals on top of the rooftop.
Why do they do that?
Such as chickens and goats.
Okay.
So on top of these apartments, you can look down and see goats and chickens, and you can hear them. Here you are in a city, and you can hear, you know, chickens and goats. And here you can see a goat here on top of the building.
Pasture on the rooftop.
Yes,
okay.
and so, you know, they from trash, a lot of these goats, they feed them trash. So from trash, they end up with milk and meat, you know, if they slaughter the animal.
Lovely.
But yeah,
Trash
exactly,
milk.
right. And so from here, we're going to look south, and in the distance, as we zoom in, we can see the pyramids at Giza, the Great Pyramid, and so forth. Right here next to the city, it's quite amazing that you could see the pyramids right next to the city from a distance.
That is quite a sight.
Yeah. So a lot of history here going back. And so we're headed south. We can see the bent pyramid in the distance. We got our taxi taking us down to the step pyramid, and there it is. This is the pyramid that Joseph built, Wyatt thought. And the National Geographic, they mentioned some inscriptions along the Nile River where it mentioned that Imhotep had saved his country from a 7-year famine. So does that sound kind of like Joseph?
That is a little familiar, isn't it?
Yes. So Imhotep built this pyramid. It's considered the first and oldest pyramid in Egypt.
Wow.
He built it for his king Zoser. But at this complex are some underground vertical silos which held grain. You know, during the 7 years of plenty, they had to store the grain someplace. So a great place to store it would be underground, where it's cooler. You know, the grain would last longer. And so at this complex here are a series of underground vertical silos. Now they had to bring the grain up, and so there's one exit point for these silos. And this is the exit point where they would go down and get the first grain out. The first grain that went in came out first. First in, first out. And so they went down these steps and carried the grain up in, you know, bags of grain. So Joseph was able to save his country.
So it's the
from
ancient best before date system.
Yes, exactly. So this made, you know, Egypt very rich, the sale of the grain. So in our graphic again here, the map, we're going to go across the Sinai, and we're going to turn south and go through the mountains to the Red Sea crossing site. That's our destination. But you know, Solomon's seaport was on the northern tip of the Gulf of Aqaba at Eilat, according to 1 Kings 9:26, and it termed this body of water as Yam Suf, or the Red Sea. That is the body of water we're heading over to, the Gulf of Aqaba. And as we're heading east out of Cairo, we're taking our taxi, and we encounter the Suez Canal that we've all heard of. And